Where do we truly go when we die? Is it a destination, a passage, or a return to something ancient and familiar? Sadhguru opens this chapter by confronting the human longing to know what lies beyond the veil of death. He explains that our fear of death is often rooted not in the experience itself but in the fear of the unknown. To escape this fear, cultures across the world have crafted myths and stories to soothe our hearts. But in yogic science, death is not an enemy or a riddle. It is a sacred event that must be approached with clarity, awareness, and reverence. To truly see beyond, we must rise above the limitations of body and mind. Sadhguru draws a sharp line between belief and direct experience. He emphasizes that what most people know about death is inherited through tradition, religion, and hearsay, not from inner exploration. But the yogic path calls for something deeper, experiential knowledge born from intense self-inquiry. When death is explored not through imagination but through inner stillness, it reveals truths that transform our understanding of both life and afterlife. Without such clarity, death becomes a shadow that looms over our existence. But with inner vision, it becomes a doorway, not into oblivion but into another dimension of intelligence. According to yogic teachings, death is not the destruction of who we are, but the dismantling of our physical and mental sheaths. What remains is the subtle body, a bundle of energy and memory shaped by karma. Karma, Sadhguru explains, is not punishment or reward, but simply the residual imprint of every action, thought, and emotion we've experienced. These imprints are like patterns in software, dictating how the subtle body moves forward. Whether it finds release or rebirth depends on the clarity of one's awareness and the intensity of karmic residue. In the moments immediately following death, the being is in a vulnerable state. Stripped of its familiar identities, it drifts in a space of disorientation. This is not a conscious choice. It is the natural consequence of losing the stabilizing influence of body and mind. Sadhguru reveals that this is where death rituals serve a vital role. Far from being mere customs or superstitions, they are powerful energetic tools designed to guide the soul during its most delicate transition. Without guidance, the soul may become confused or even remain tethered to the earthly plane, unable to move on. These rituals are detailed and sacred. Sadhguru explains how specific chants, mantras, and offerings create a nurturing atmosphere for the departed. When done with sincerity and awareness, these rituals help the being let go of attachments and transition peacefully. The food offerings are not symbolic, they are energetic in nature. The chants are not random, they are calibrated frequencies that influence subtle dimensions. In the yogic tradition, these acts are considered vital to the well-being of both the living and the dead. Stories of wandering souls are not just spooky folklore. Sadhguru recounts how beings who pass without clarity often remain stuck, not as dramatic ghosts but as unresolved energies. These entities hover in grief, confusion, or longing, unable to cross over. He insists this is not punishment but a form of inner inertia. The role of the living then is to assist, not by fear or pity but by love, clarity, and presence. Conscious rituals performed with devotion can help such beings find closure and peace. The first 11 to 14 days after death are the most crucial. In yogic science, this is known as the period of maximum receptivity. During this time, the being is most open to assistance from the living. Sadhguru urges that family members should not sink into grief, but rise into awareness. Every prayer, offering, and act of remembrance becomes a bridge of light. Ceremonies such as Shraddha are not just social traditions. They are deeply spiritual processes that can significantly alter the journey of the departed. What happens once this critical window passes? The subtle body begins its search for a new womb, pulled by the gravity of unresolved karma. Rebirth is not a choice, it is a compulsion born from incompletion. Sadhguru compares this to a script that must play out until its final line is spoken. Life in this view is a continuum, not a start-stop event. Birth and death are simply movements in a larger spiral, each turn bringing the possibility of higher realization, or deeper bondage depending on awareness. But there is an escape. Liberation, or Mukti, is the ultimate goal in yogic tradition, not to be reborn, not to reach a paradise, but to dissolve all compulsions. Sadhguru explains that liberation is not a dream or a reward. It is a possibility open to every being who becomes truly conscious. The liberated are not remembered with tears, but felt as blessings, their presence lingering in silence and space. They leave no footprint behind, yet their grace can guide others long after their physical form is gone. To die consciously is the first step toward liberation. This is why great yogis do not fear death, they prepare for it. They refine their awareness, master their energies, and approach death not as an accident but as an art. Sadhguru describes how these beings leave their body not in a hospital bed, but in a meditative state, fully aware of every breath until the very end. They do not collapse into death, they merge into it, like a river joining the ocean with joy and grace. Modern medicine, though life-saving in many ways, often interferes with this sacred transition. Sadhguru warns that heavy sedation and artificial prolonging of life can rob a person of their final opportunity for awareness. He does not suggest abandoning care, but insists that we must preserve the dignity of death. Pain can be managed through yogic methods. But numbing consciousness in the final moments is like turning away from the very gateway to freedom. Awareness at the moment of death is the culmination of a conscious life. Preparation is the key. Just as we prepare for important life events, exams, weddings, careers, why should death be an afterthought? Meditation, inner stillness, and spiritual discipline are not just paths to peace, but practices that ready the soul for its final journey. Death, when embraced with awareness, becomes a crescendo, the highest note in the music of life. A conscious death leaves behind not grief, but serenity. It becomes a quiet reminder to the living. This is how life should be lived, with clarity, grace, and surrender. Sadhguru's words serve as a wake-up call. Don't wait for death to live consciously. Begin now. Reflect not with fear but with curiosity. Cultivate detachment, not coldness but freedom. Love deeply, live fully, but don't lose yourself in the temporary. Everything you gather, name, fame, relationships, even your own body, will be left behind. But the fragrance of awareness, the clarity of your being, is what travels with you. This is the essence of yogic preparation, not escape but readiness. So what really happens after we die? Sadhguru does not hand us a conclusion but an invitation, to look within, to quiet the mind, and to touch the eternal that already exists within us. The afterlife is not a place far away. It is a dimension accessible only through awareness. It begins not after death but now in how we live, love, and let go. If death is inevitable, why not make it meaningful? Why not turn the unknown into the sacred? As you sit with the truths of this chapter, ask yourself, am I living in a way that prepares me for a conscious death? This isn't about morbidity, it's about mastery. It's not about loss, it's about liberation. If this chapter stirred something deep within you, share your thoughts in the comments. Let your voice be part of this awakening. And if you wish to continue this profound journey into the mysteries of life and beyond, make sure to subscribe. The next chapters hold even deeper revelations, silent, powerful, and life-changing.